What's going on, guys? The Inside the Boot podcast, and today we have a Giants post-game reaction pod. The Giants lose 20-15 in a game where you would have liked to probably, see them come out and win this football game. Like, this was a winnable football game. I think we can all agree with that. The team didn't play a bad football game, the Giants. The Giants did not play a bad football game. There's obviously some positives. There's some negatives. We're going to break it all down on the pod. Of course, Daniel Jones loses another game on Primetime. The Giants in general lose another game to Dallas. It sucks. It really does just suck losing to the same team over and over and over again. And you don't get a different result. Like, you lose once again. You don't get your ass kicked like you did last year. But you just don't play the game that, we would have liked. Like, we would have liked the Giants to come out. They have a chance to win the football game and a drop. They have another chance. A field goal. Field goals. 5 field goals. They basically played the Washington Commanders type game with just field goals and draining clock. That's pretty much what they did. They drained a bunch of clock one time. I think it was like 12 plays for like 40 yards or something. Something like that. They obviously dominated in possession, but they didn't score enough points. You put up 15 points. I know people are saying, "Oh, this game wasn't on Daniel Jones." It kind of was. It kind of was, and I'm not saying like he played a bad game. He played a game that you could say probably should have won him this football game. I think we can definitely say that. But the problem that I have with Daniel Jones is not being able to air it out 20 plus yards, not hitting open wide receivers. I thought he made some good throws in some aspects, and then just some bad decisions, holding on to the football too long. Thankfully, the offensive line held up, because I think the big matchup was Andrew Thomas against Micah Parsons, and then Illuminor against Micah Parsons. That was the big thing we previewed, is that no Evan Neal, no worry about that right tackle. They got Illuminor, he's going to lock him up, and they did. And then Parsons left with an injury, of course. A bunch of injuries. DeMarcus Lawrence goes down with an injury. Trayvon Diggs with cramping and dehydration. Neighbors goes with a concussion injury at the end of the Giants' drive that eventually lost them the football game. Neighbors with another great performance. 12 catches, 115 yards. You can't ask for much more. Daniel Jones, I will say, some of those throws were just suicide passes. They were just right there, and then boom, clocked. Neighbors getting clocked, and that's the one thing I have with Daniel Jones that I can't see. If Neighbors you have to look at the surroundings. Like, if Neighbors is right there, and then he turns and then he's getting popped, that's not a good throw. That's a careless throw, getting your teammate hurt. Now, I'm not saying, like, okay, Daniel Jones pretty much got Neighbors hurt, but you have to look at it like this. In that one drive at the end of the game, Daniel Jones was not looking at anybody else besides Malik Neighbors, right? And, of course, 12 catches is amazing. But we have to spread the football out a lot more, because if you're only going to rely on Neighbors, you're not going to win the game. And you're not going to score enough, because when that guy gets double-teamed, then it falls in the reliance of Wanda Robinson and Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton's hands are not good, at least this year. Wandell had a good game. Running game was not good. And I think that's one of the main negatives I have of this game, is that this running game was getting beat down. Devin Singletary fumbling the football, even though it was obviously reviewed. No gloves for Devin Singletary. I don't know who he thinks he is, having no gloves as a running back. That I definitely have never seen before. But I think in like 2 of the 3 games previously, he didn't have gloves on. I didn't notice it, but Giants have lost 7 straight and 14 of the last 15 of the Cowboys. Another bad stuff there. But, like, Jalen Hyatt needs to play. I'm sick and tired of seeing Darius Slayton kind of out there for now. I want to see Jalen Hyatt, and I want to see him do good. You don't trade up for somebody in the draft that you love and not play him. Like, I don't see that. Kind of a similar situation to the Lions, where they traded up for Jahmyr Gibbs, and then they signed David Montgomery. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs' production probably isn't as much as Lions fans would hope, because veterans are overtaking rookies. Kind of a similar situation where the veteran Darius Slayton's getting the bulk of the load at the wide receiver 3 role, wide receiver 2 role, whatever you want to call it. Probably the wide receiver 3 role. Getting more into the offense, Giants have the second most pass drop this year. First place is the Browns, and yeah, that's unacceptable. Giants have 10 drops this year, and it's just bad. Like, drops stink, and drops late in the game stink. That Wanda Robinson drop costed us. The Darius Slayton drop, where I can kind of defend Slayton because it's not a great pass from Daniel Jones. It's out, but Slayton's got to make this diving catch to make it. And a lot of underthrows deep down the field from Daniel Jones. Neighbors has to go back to get a ball. Darius Slayton. A bunch of stuff. Like, that thing should be led, and they should be running forward for the football. Not with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. You're going to have to come back for the football. It's like you're running a comeback route, even though it's a slot fade or whatever it is. Another wild stat that I found on Twitter: Daniel Jones has not thrown a touchdown in front of the home fans at MetLife in 635 days. How does that happen? How does Daniel Jones in year 6 still not know how to throw touchdown passes or create long drives and throw a touchdown? We saw it in the Browns series, in the Browns game. Good drives leading to touchdowns. Of course, Malik Neighbors getting both of them, but good drives getting into touchdowns. Now we're settling for field goals, and I don't think we were as aggressive as I would have liked to play against a Dallas team that does not have a great defense. Okay, and plus, Micah Parsons goes down. DeMarcus Lawrence goes down. Trayvon Diggs goes down. There are 3 top guys. There's no Bland. There was no anybody. And you still can't find a way to beat the Dallas Cowboys up front of the run game. They had 26 rushing yards. The Saints and the Ravens combined for like 436. I think it was some crazy stat, like 200 out on the ground for both teams. And that's where I get frustrated too with the offense. Is you can't find ways to create offense on the ground. It had to be through the air. It had to be through play action, and it just stinks because I thought they were going to run it down their throats, use Danny's legs to their advantage, but they don't. I don't know if Brian Daboll is scared to use Daniel Jones. Not very sure. I know he's definitely scared to go for it on 4th down when they're at the 3-yard line. That was definitely a questionable move. I understand, get the points, cool and all, but I would have liked to see some aggressiveness there. It would have been nice, but nothing's nice with the New York Football Giants at all. It is what it is. Let's get into the defense now. Yeah, that's all I got for Daniel Jones. 1 for 13 on Primetime, 1 and 7 in Dallas, 29 of 40, 281 yards, 1 interception, and 1 of 6 of attempts of 20 plus air yards. Only 1 was the 3rd down conversion of Malik Neighbors to start the football game. So the defense, and I think everybody is probably going to know where I'm getting with this, and it starts with Deonte Banks. He's a CB2 at best right now. That's his ceiling, in my opinion. And that's just what frustrates me, because it wasn't like Zeke was doing much on the ground. It wasn't like Dallas was killing you on the ground. It was CeeDee Lamb. It wasn't even Brandon Cooks either. It was really just CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson had 7 catches for, I think, like 40-something yards. But it was CeeDee Lamb just terrorizing Deonte Banks, taunting him at the end, embarrassing him. Deonte Banks is jogging to try and catch CeeDee Lamb. I don't know, like, what Deonte Banks is doing. It looked like And like even with his man coverage, it still looks like he's getting away with calls. And with Deonte Banks, like we needed a leap in year 2 to see what kind of cornerback he's going to be, because the Giants don't have a CB1 right now. They just don't. And that's what frustrates me, is because you drafted Deonte Banks in the first round, and you just didn't hit on another pick. It feels like that. It feels like you haven't hit on Deonte Banks. You've seen, some stuff like, okay, really cool plays last year. This year, it's really just Amari Cooper burnt him, CeeDee Lamb burnt him, Terry McLaurin, and Deonte Banks. That's really like the one wide receiver I see that like Deonte Banks could have a good game against. But regardless, like, gotta find a way to lock up these cornerbacks, man. You're going to be taking on DK Metcalf. You're going to be taking on A.J. Brown in the future. Like, you're going to be taking on good wide receivers. Like, it just frustrates me, man. Deonte Banks frustrates me. He had one of the lowest PFF grades among the Giants defensive back. Micah McFadden with the 79. Jason Pinnock with the 77. Tyler Nubin, 71. Okereke, 69.7. Brian Burns, a 67, Isaiah Simmons, 67, and Kayvon Thibodeau, 66. Those were the top 7. If you're wondering where Dexter Lawrence was, he was number 9. And with Dexter Lawrence, like, I can't be mad at him because he's getting like the Aaron Donald treatment. You got Cooper Beebe or whoever was playing against him just doubling Dexter Lawrence at all cost. And then when they don't double him, that's when Dexter Lawrence dominates. He dominated the rookie center when it wasn't doubled. Got to Dak Prescott, got a nice tackle on the run defense. But, I mean, a 20-15 loss, it doesn't look that bad on paper. Like, it doesn't look bad from the score, but you see 5 field goals, and it's just not good. Like, it's not good. Giants are 29th now in scoring per game, 15.0 scoring per game. That's not good. Like, you need to be in the 20s at the very least. But I think for going into the next game, I'm going to keep saying it. You got to play all the wide receivers. You just got to, man. You got to take a risk. Like, this is a time of the Giants. They're not competing for a playoff spot. They're just not. Like, they're not the team like that. They need to reevaluate the QB situation. They need to reevaluate the cornerback 1 position. So they have holes in this team before they could really say, like, okay, we could really start to compete for the NFC East and get in the playoffs again. 2022 was a very fun year. I think we can make a debate that maybe it set us back a few seasons in terms of talent, because then they gave Daniel Jones the contract. You had to move on from Saquon, Xavier McKinney, and Julian Love. I'm not saying Tyler Nubin's bad, but Xavier McKinney's probably a top 5 at his position as of now. But yeah, I mean, a tough loss for the New York Giants. Like I said, as long as they stay competitive and they stay in games, don't think Brian Dable's going anywhere, and I don't think Joe Shane's going anywhere. And I think if there's going to be someone who goes first, it's going to be Brian Dable, and I don't think Dable's going to be fired. I am a fan of Dable. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for that because of my like of Dable. This is not Dable's QB. I want to see what Dable can do with the new QB and what the future could look like, because I think he's a great offensive-minded person. I think he really helps Daniel Jones put together good games and puts together a good game plan for Daniel Jones to succeed. But on the other hand, like, Daniel Jones is not good. Like, we're in year 6, he can't air it out 20-plus yards, 1 for 6 in this game. And I know a lot of people are calling for Dable's job and that he should be fired. I heard a guy on ESPN say he's toast, that it's all Brian Dable's fault for not going in on, the late 4th down at the Dallas end zone. That's the only part I disagree with. Like, that's the only part with, okay, that's the only part I agree with, not disagree. That maybe Dable could have went a little aggressive, but, like, it's clear. Dable tried to trade up for Jaden Daniels. He tried to trade up for Drake May, more like Joe Shane did, but Brian Dable was influencing, like, hey, I like the QBs a lot this year. Let's try and make a move and get one. And they didn't. But they got Malik Neighbors, so they got their wide receiver 1. That's sometimes very tough to get in drafts. It's probably like a more likelihood to hit on a wide receiver 1 than a quarterback. But regardless, it was a good QB class. It hasn't looked great besides Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels looks like a stud. But we're not talking offseason. We're not talking quarterbacks right now besides the Daniel Jones effect in that he kind of caused the Giants to lose this football game. Pretty disappointed in him to not get it done on late downs and all of that. But that's going to do it for this podcast. Of course, Giants lose 20-15 to Dallas, and another loss to Dallas. They don't take them on until Thanksgiving. Giants got some upcoming games. Second week of the gauntlet, 1-1, but 1-3 overall. Gotta get some touchdowns, man. Like, I'm sick and tired of field goals. I am so sick and tired of just seeing field goals day after day. No touchdowns, man. But that's going to do it for this podcast. Of course, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.